Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me for this episode of One Mic Night. This is a special one. My guest today is incredible. You're not going to believe who I have on. So make sure you stick around, wait till the end because we got a surprise for you. But my guest is an award-winning singer-songwriter and producer. He may not be a household name, but you've heard his music around the world. He has written for over 75 recording artists, including heavy hitters such as Angie Stone, Anita Baker, Brownstone, Marc Anthony, Chaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, Usher. The list goes on and on and on. He's here today to talk about his illustrious career. He's got 8 awards from ASCAP. He's got 4 Dove Award nominations and 3 Grammy Award nominations as well. So sit back, find out who my guest is, and make sure you like and share this episode because it's a banger. We're coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Marco Solis. This is One Mic Night. If you didn't know, this is One Mic Night, New York City's best and favorite open mic night jam. All right. We also enjoy the music. Tonight I'm bringing you some of the best artists in New York City, right here in Brooklyn. I've got some comedians coming through, some independent artists, so sit back, enjoy. My house band is here every week holding me down. Please give a warm round of applause for Ruckus. What we do here at One Mic Night is we give the artist a feature. It's like a mini showcase, so you get a taste of what they're about. And hopefully you'll support indie artists around the world. Give it up for the indie artists in the house, please.
My name's Jana, and we had a really great time tonight. We came to check out our friend's band, but we enjoyed every other performance too. Had a really great comedian and some really great bands, and it was a really nice way to unwind on a Tuesday.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to One Mic Night, the podcast that brings you stories of artists and people on their journey, helping to guide, answer questions, and motivate you in life and the business. You already know who I am. It's Marco Solis, and I'm back. We're in season 5, 18 years of One Mic Night. And thank you all for sticking around and following me through this beautiful, beautiful journey, documenting people's lives and hopefully inspiring your own lives with their stories. Today will be no different. My guest today, I am so excited to have. He is an award-winning artist, singer, songwriter, and record producer. He's written for the likes of numerous people, and I'm sure you know him. His name may not be a household name to you, it is to me, but his music certainly is. Please welcome Gordon Chambers to One Mic Night. How you doing, Mr. Chambers?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Listen, I have questions. The first question is, who is Gordon Chambers?
You tell me. You invited me. What do you want to know? I'm the child of Byron and Valerie Chambers of Montego Bay and Port Antonio, Jamaica. I am a child of God. I am a music soul child, so to speak. I'm a spiritual being trying to live and walk in the light and shine light.
I hear that.
And I live in Brooklyn, New York.
In Brooklyn, New York.
New Jersey. Born in the Bronx. And I'm happy that you've had me to talk tonight. And congratulations on 18 years and the commitment and the discipline to do that for 18 years. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So listen, I want to know, how did you grow up? What was life like for you growing up?
What was life like for me growing up? I mean, I think that growing up was, I grew up in the 70s, a time of the emergence of Black excellence and Black dreaming and Black soul music and the emergence of Black television and Black musical excellence and Stevie Wonder winning Best Album of the Year for 3 years consecutively.
Mhm.
And my childhood was, I think, a classic immigrant American story of, I relate a lot when Kamala Harris talks about her childhood of born to immigrants that came to strive and dream and, sacrifice to make a life and the best pathways for their children to have the best opportunities in life. I would say that embodies my childhood.
Hmm. So how is it for you if you're a child of an immigrant? Were your parents supportive of you doing this? And kind of when did you know this was the pathway you were taking? And when did they know?
My parents were very supportive. I mean,
Yeah.
we grew up in a cherished music loving household. My father had thousands of records and bought records every Friday night. And my mom would cook a kata curry goat on Friday nights for the cricket team. My father's Jamaican and he played cricket. So they had this ritual of the night before the games on the weekends, of everybody coming to their house to just buy records and listen to records. So I grew up just with a deep love of music that led to a curiosity about it, that led to music lessons and childhood recitals. I was the trumpet player at first, was my first instrument, then the piano. So there were classical music lessons and recitals and school band concerts, and then later on in high school, pop, concerts with little bands we formed. And then, they supported me going to the artistic college that I wanted to go to, which was Brown University. Even in spite of me getting a full scholarship to Princeton, they still supported me going to the college that I felt, fit my personality and my goals. So they were always very supportive. Not just my parents, but the whole extended family, because I was the eldest grandchild and the eldest to go to the high school of 7 cousins. So yeah, I always felt very supported. I mean, they had their trepidations and their warnings about, going to entertainment full time, about sort of the unsteadiness of it all. And because I was a very bright child, I skipped, a grade and graduated high school at 16. They were probably more so encouraging of me finding a traditional path, career pathway, but they still supported my love and my pursuit of the craft. It was more like, I think it was more for them, like, you can pursue this, we'll support this as a hobby. But later on, as I started to feel like I wanted to steer into this professionally, then the encouragement changed. Then it was like long talks about, actually, to be honest, the lack of character
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
a lot of people in entertainment could be in, and not. There were serious warnings of like not getting caught up in the sex, drugs, and rock and roll as I was pursuing this journey, and just really warning me, like, listen, you come from certain values that are strong and that will guide you and keep you through, don't poo-poo where you came from.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you may glamorize, what the culture of what you're aspiring to be, wanting to do. But their warnings were like, just realize that, all that glitters isn't gold.
Right.
And then
And
it was
don't
like,
compromise your virtues,
exactly.
what we taught you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, like, as you're starting to make money, make sure you put away and invest in something that you have, for the future. Just old school, good, solid parenting, which
This
has
is
edified me.
this is beautiful and interesting at the same time, because coming from a period of time where you came from, a lot of us didn't know this. A lot of
Yeah,
us didn't know, put away a little money, stay on the, straight and narrow. People are compromising their values to get ahead in the music industry.
sure.
How did you stay on that path? Because there's
Oh, yeah.
temptation along the way.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
afraid
Hmm.
of disappointing my parents. I was afraid of getting kicked out of the house. I think I was more afraid. I think I was more afraid of disappointment and just, and plus I knew what had been invested into me and I wanted to just live my life and pursue my dreams in a way that my family could be proud of. You know what I mean? So fear and pride, I would say, fear works.
Yeah, fear does work.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely does.
I'm not a big proponent of abuse,
Right.
but I think that a little mystique of fear in parenting is actually sometimes actually a healthy thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's from the traditional way that
Old
we
school.
we do. Yeah, definitely the
Yeah.
old school. Yeah.
Yeah. These days, a lot of kids don't fear their parents. You know
They
what I
don't
mean?
fear anything.
Right. You know what I mean?
They really don't. And
Yeah.
that's a huge problem in
Yeah.
so many ways for the society.
Yeah.
When did you start performing and when did you get that bug where you said, I want to be on stage or I want to well first, what came first for you? Was it writing or was it you said you did instrumental
It was
training?
playing instruments.
Hmm.
Playing instruments in school bands came first. I was a child in many bands as a kid. And then that later on, singing came way later. I didn't really start singing till like college, really. So I was in bands, playing piano, writing songs, but having other singer friends sing them, um, and performing as a front person, as a singer, came way later, I would say, in college, because I grew up around these amazing singers and I was intimidated by them. So I
Hmm.
would kind of just like coach them or play piano for them or, encourage them as a singer and write songs. But I didn't sort of start discovering my own singing voice until college. I performed as a singer all through college.
Hmm.
But then when I left college and got into New York, and started to pursue music professionally, then my first opportunities came as a songwriter. So then the singing took the back burner again.
Okay.
Although I sang on demos and I sang background vocals, and I sang in the recording studio sessions, I had to like sing in the sessions to coach people. And so then there was after about 10 years solidly in the business of writing and producing a lot for people, and there was just this other bug in me about singing, and and eventually, like that spirit in me kept calling me, that little voice in my ear. And it was actually in a recording session with Whitney Houston when she was like, I was singing her some of the parts that I needed her to sing in the song. And we were on a time crunch, so I had to really sing it out for her to hear what I needed to. And she said, I think you want to do what I do, baby. If that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. And she said, it's just the eyes and shaking her head like that, all in her face.
Love it.
And that was like sort of the vote of confidence. And that's when I talked to some of my writer producer friends. I said, listen, y'all, I think I want to try to make a record. These are friends of mine that I had wrote and, produced songs for many other artists. But I just got that little, vote of confidence from, somebody I idolized and started just saying to friends of mine, colleagues, can we give this a go? Can you try to help me make a record? And they all said yes.
Do you think
So
that's kind of the normal pathway or of for singers? I mean, I think, back in that time, and I don't mean like it's way back so
yeah,
far,
but
but
it's a
when
different time.
yeah, it's a different time now in the music industry, they
Mhm.
have the people who were the chosen ones. We're going to grab this person, we're going to promote this person. They're the ones that we're putting up. And then
Yeah.
everybody else, we come through and, you do the demos, you sometimes you choose to do backup, and then you're enlightened and maybe you want to be the front person. Like we have the Luther Vandross, we had Mariah Carey singing for Brenda K. Starr. We have, people like that. Was that kind of the normal pathway, you think, back
I
then?
think that back then, I mean, and when we say back then, I mean, this is my 30th sort of year in the business, like as a hit maker, quote unquote, in
Mhm.
the business of having records on the radio. So we're talking about the 90s. I mean, back then the goal was to get a record deal. This
Right.
was, that was the goal. And the record companies were looking for certain things, certain images, um, certain packages. So if you were not that thing that they were looking for, then you worked in the business in different other ways, you know. And so I think that, you know, I'm really proud of artists that came after in a different time that started coming into the industry later, like say I was in 20 years in and seeing all kinds of these, you know, sort of free-spirited, even within R&B or just any genres, but the kind of free-spiritedness, like of different images or different even body types
Hmm.
of artists who are just dope. And they were just like, it got, they just were finding, you know, stardom or platforms in a way that probably they might never have been signed, you know, in the early 90s. So, you know, things started to shift, you know.
What do you attribute that to?
I think it became more about the artists branding themselves, building their own platforms, you know, finding their own fan bases, and record companies became like, if you build it, then we'll promote it, as opposed to the old days where you would come to the record company and they'd put their stamp on you. Things sort of changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Who were some of the people you mentioned, you know, Whitney Houston? Who were some of the other people that kind of inspired you along the way? Because you've had an illustrious career, and I know some of the people you've, you know, collaborated with and have worked with, and like you said, in many capacities.
Yes, I mean, I would say Phyllis Hyman was one of the first
Mm,
artists that I met, you know, very early in my journey who took a great interest in me. I met her at a songwriting session, but she was like, I want to, you know, be a part of your journey. And she introduced me to other writers and producers and just started having me hang out, come to her house, come to her concerts. She came to some of my early concerts. She just became like, she just availed herself as a big sister to me, you know. So she was amazing. Um,
what were those sessions like? We all love Phyllis Hyman, you know, and we want to know. I don't mean intimate details, but I just mean how empowering was that for you, and how, you know, what did that mean to you, and what does it mean to you now?
I mean, it was amazing that I was, you know, very young. I was 23
Yeah.
at the time, 22, 23, um, and relatively unknown. And she thought that I had a great talent and, you know, wanted me to help her put together what was her last album. It was her posthumous album, but the last album that she was working on before she passed, to co-write with her, help her tell some of her story lyrically. But it was overwhelming. It was like, wow, this woman, this icon, this legend that like we grew up listening to her records in my basement. Like she like wants to like hang out with me.
Right.
Like, you know, like she invites me to her house. Like really?
Yeah.
Um, but she was really real. I mean, she was really transparent about struggles that she had gone through in her life. She warned me about certain things and how to, you know, deal with certain contracts and asking questions in the business and staying away from certain situations. And she just introduced me to people, you
Hmm.
know, like one day she was like, you know, she'd be like, come to dinner with me, you know, and then, you know, Denzel Washington was sitting at the next table. Oh, have you met Gordon James? He's a songwriter. Like just taking me under her wing, like a little brother or son or nephew. It was quite amazing. But then, you know, it was also quite human because she was also really talking about, you know, very transparently about what I didn't know was depression at the time. I didn't know. But she would say things like, I haven't been out the bed in 5 days.
Hmm.
You know, I didn't know what that meant at the time. I'm thinking, oh, well, she's Phyllis Hyman. Maybe she's just tired. She's, you know, onto, you know, I didn't really know what that really meant. So I think that, you know, she gave me an unexpected gift when she passed. I didn't expect her to give me this gift of never pedestalizing anybody, um, always being respectful, but also realizing that people are people, um, people are human, you know, having empathy for everyone and never really understanding what people are going through, um, and friendship, you know, and sorry, I have made myself available to other talented young people that I've met in my journey, and taken under my wing as a mentor, very much in the way that she took me under hers, and it's been an honor to do
Why
so.
is
And
why is that important to you?
it's each one teach one. We that's the way the culture survives.
Say it again. Say it again.
That,
Absolutely.
that's the way the culture survives. Excuse
That's
me.
right. That's exactly how the culture survives. We have to. It's our obligation. And a lot of people, they can talk the talk, but very few walk the walk,
Yes.
you know.
And the culture survives in community. So it's really about giving, you know, being a part of community and creating safe spaces in communities. Yeah.
Allowing people to explore and people to grow and learn, you know, and
Yeah.
receive information.
Yes.
Yeah. We need to do that with jazz music too.
Oh,
Jazz
yeah.
is that's history.
Absolutely.
We definitely don't want that to die. It's a part of who we are.
I mean, when I was on the come up, some of the artists that even before I met Phyllis, who were really kind to me and really opened up their homes and their hearts to me, were jazz musicians, Abbey Lincoln and Roy Hargrove. It's interesting. I didn't end up becoming a professional jazz musician. I ended up becoming an R&B musician, but I love jazz.
Mm,
And one of these days, I'm going to make my jazz album.
as you
Um,
should.
but some of the jazz community were some of the first people who really gave me that love and connectedness and sense of community and family as well. Yeah, open their homes.
You did a collaboration with Roy Hargrove, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
That's a beautiful song.
Thank you. Yes, he was
Yeah.
4 days after me, same year too. So we are like very much kindred spirits. We're good friends. He used to run the streets and loved him very deeply, loved him very, very much.
Love it. Let's talk about some of your albums or EP. I don't know which one to call it nowadays, but your first one, when you look back on that, it was it called Introducing
Introducing
Gordon
Gordon.
Chambers? Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
When you look back on that, what comes to mind?
Um, the Introducing Gordon Chambers. I just wanted people to know that I existed, that I could sing. And I had friends that were in the business, like Roy, that I called to play on a track. And Mike Phillips that I called to play on a track, and Carl Thomas, who I called to sing on the track. Um, it was a, it was just me wanting to just express the singer in me, and and really like wanting to create. I felt a great solid record independently that was commensurate with the quality of any major label recording. You know what I mean? I had tried to get a major record label deal and got turned down, a couple of times. So within that journey, by the time I decided to record independently on my own, there was a part of me is like, okay, um, I have to make my own way. But I was very vigilant about doing this with the absolute bar of quality that I could aspire to from every aspect of it, from the photography to the photo shoots that I did for it, to mixing, hiring Fritz Charles Alexander to mix my record, who was, one of the top, he had been the chief engineer of Bad Boy Records. He's a Grammy-winning engineer, but he was my buddy. He was my friend. He had mixed records that I'd written for other people, for Aretha Franklin and people. So I wanted like, hey, Charles, can you mix my album? Like I took out a loan against my house. Took out a second mortgage to
Mm.
make my first record, to do it to the caliber that I've wanted to do it, and so it was I think a jazzy R&B record. Like you can hear the elements of the jazz musician in me a bit, but I think it's a solid R&B record, and just a bunch of songs that I wrote, and one song that I didn't write that I just loved that I felt like I wrote it, and it fit me like a glove. And it became like my first learning on the curve, experiences of going out there and hustling and gigs and putting bands together and, going out to perform. I wasn't young. I was 33 years old.
Mm.
But the spirit said, it's time, and I went for it.
What excites you about performing? Live
People.
performances, yeah.
I love
People.
people. I love to connect with people. Music is a way to, talk to people. It's a form of communication. Like all artistry is communication. So it's just a way of speaking to people's souls, but also performing. As opposed to songwriting, I've reached millions of more people as a songwriter on the records I've written, tens of millions of people in that platform. But as a performer, when I've performed, in rooms of, more intimate scenarios, I get to look those people right in the eye and connect my heart to theirs, and I can see them and I can really touch them and I can uplift them. It's a more immediate connective medium.
Yeah. A lot of your music has to do with humanistic qualities, life, romance, things like that. So there's no surprise that it's touching a lot of people. Even the ones you write for other people, your music and their music, which is your music too. But
yes.
Yeah, so we relate to it so well. You do kind of like an R&B, sort of maybe a little gospel, a little pop, a little like the lines are blurred there, but it's all beautiful music that touches the soul, and it's soulful music, which is fantastic. What do you think about when you think about your second LP, which was called what? Love Stories, right?
Yeah, Love Stories. Love Stories those two albums were quite connected. A similar group of producers and collaborators worked on both albums. On Love Stories, I wanted to release an album of love stories. So these were not necessarily songs that were my personal experiences. It was more so from the perspective of me being a storyteller. And on Love Stories, I recorded more songs on that album that I didn't write. I met some very talented songwriters and who presented me some great songs, and I wanted to sing those songs. And so it was a chance to branch out from just being the singer-songwriter that, to also just being stretching myself to be an interpreter. And it was a fun album to make. It was more wide reaching of genre. I think the first album was tighter in terms of one sort of sonic space. Love Story sort of went wider. But it was fun. It was really just exploring the songwriter in me and the interpreter of songs that I've heard that I really loved.
Like it. I like that. What about the third one? It's called Surrender, right?
No, the third album is called Sincere, actually.
Sincere.
Sincere, yes. Sincere was a more youthful album. I met some younger producers that I thought were extremely talented, that became sort of mentees of mine, and that had great music. And I wanted to just experiment with them sonically. Sort of just give myself a bit of a remix, like say, sounding like I want to write with them and see how my writing and vocal style meshed with their production style. And it was fun. It was cool. Like making that third album was more so me not feeling like I needed to like have big names that I needed to like have, collaborate with or be special guests with or produce or mix. It was me like trusting the singer in me and the talent finder in me that I was the connecting tissue of that project. Like it didn't feel like I needed to be co-signed by anyone or anything on that project. It was like, I've done this now. This is album number 3. I can find the sound, find the production, and it was a more independent album, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, it definitely does. So there was
Mhm.
a lot more confidence in making this album because it was relying more so on you and
Right.
you going in and saying, yeah, I've done this. I got this. I know
Yeah.
how to make this work. And
But also, it was very much
partner.
about giving people a chance.
Hmm.
Like, there's a lot of producers who worked on that album who that was some of their first records that they'd ever produced, but they were great. They're great, really talented,
Hmm.
and I wanted to let them lead me, and I, it was experimental in that way, you
That's
know.
that's beautiful. That was a conscious thought on your part then to bring in someone fresh and new and young and give them an opportunity
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I like that. And which leads me to the next question. How do you keep your music fresh and new and evolving? And I guess that's one of the
Meeting
ways.
people,
Yeah.
meeting people and collaborating, listening to sounds and sonics and textures and collaborative and being open. Yeah, that's what it's always about. I mean, like one of my favorite artists of all time, is Miles Davis,
Mm.
who, experimented with so many different genres and periods and sounds and producers you know, and was always a talent finder. If you study Miles's whole career, he gave people like Marcus Miller produced his Tutu album, which was his major comeback album. I think Marcus was like 21 when he did that album.
Mm.
Was very, very, very young. And Marcus did that before Marcus got with Luther Vandross, who I see on your wall. So,
No, that's not Luther. That's me.
oh, that's
That's
you.
me when I was young. That's me holding an Oscar.
I thought it was Luther.
No, that's me.
There's a famous picture of Luther like in a similar outfit. That's how I thought it
Yeah,
was.
that's
Anyway,
okay. Shout out
cool.
to Alvaro Arts who did that for me. He's a
Okay, dope.
celebrity painter. But yeah,
Very nice.
thank you.
So, and it looks like it's painted in leather too. So
No, it's not.
it just, I don't know from
Yeah,
it looks
that's
like
okay.
that.
It's a lighting. That's
So,
okay.
yeah, Miles, like I said, I love Miles Davis, because he experimented and he talent scouted organically and he made music people with it that he wanted to that took his journey somewhere else. Joni Mitchell too, you know, Joni Mitchell, started out as a sort of folk pop artist and did this experimental jazzy stuff in the 70s, which is some of my favorite music ever. So, these are some of my favorite people, favorite musicians, and how they've, you know, journeyed and created
And
over time.
evolved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's someone that you'd like to collaborate with that you haven't already or
Rihanna.
in a different? Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
In a singing capacity or a songwriter
I'd love to
capacity?
write a song for Rihanna. I think Rihanna is just amazing.
Yeah, I do too.
Like there's an honesty about her. There's this honesty and swagger and clarity of her timbre of her voice. Just love her. I just love from the minute I heard her, I don't know, the Caribbean in me too. I'm like, who's that Caribbean chick? And she's just confident, like with her sound, like the way she sounds on records. It's just like it's full and it's real. There's something regal and raw at the same time about her sound.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that too goes to the evolution as we were talking about of an artist
Yes.
because when she first came out, they made her I'm not gonna say they made her, but she was more of a pop artist. She wasn't allowed to do her Rihanna. I didn't feel like she was being her authentic self in all the
Hmm.
songs. You get a little piece of it here and there, but then
Hmm.
as the other albums came along, you start to find out who she is, and she
Hmm.
gets a little more creative um, input on the product.
Hmm.
So
And she's
yeah,
a hit maker.
yeah,
Like
she's
she knows how to
definitely
sing that vocal and make that thing a hit.
right.
The way she approaches it. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's great.
What would you say is one or two of the songs that would best exemplify who you are or who your work is? I know it's hard to pick one, but if I was to say, oh, go listen to Gordon Chambers' songs right now, What would you say? Listen to this
I mean, I think most people
in
know
terms of
me,
writing.
love me from Brownstone. I mean, I'm just like
Mhm.
after 30 years, I'm just amazed that people still, like love that song so much.
Right.
I mean, the group made two albums. It's not like it's not as if the group themselves became these major icons. They made two different albums with two different lineups, and they still, perform and gig here and there with yet another lineup.
Hmm.
So it wasn't so much about the group. They sang the heaven out of it, but it really was about the song
The
and that,
song. Yeah.
still people just love that song. It's been sampled again and again and put in movies and remixed and, recorded in different languages and all different kinds of ways. I mean, I'm just amazed. It's been memed, it's been this, it's been that. I'm just amazed at all the legs and lives that it's had. Um, um, I think One Voice by Brandy that I wrote for Brandy is on her Never Say Never album. I mean, that song is very much, it's not one of the songs I'm best known for.
Hmm.
It was an album cover, it wasn't a single, but it's what I believe, it's my ideals in a song. It rarely speaks about what music means to me and what being a musician, all the possibilities that I think musicians have to touch the world. The bridge says a song that heals, a melody of reason and freedom with words that can speak for the weak, the hopeful, and the strong. I'll sing it for everyone. That's what I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
I live by that, you know. And so
Yeah.
that one's very special to me. On my first album, I'll Miss You Most, um, a ballad on the first record is I wrote that song a long time ago, and as a teenager, actually, didn't release it till many, many, many years later. But that song is deeply emotional to me. You know, over the years, I've lost many friends, um, great friends. Um, when I sing that song, it makes me think of those people. It's a song about a singer, and it's a song about a performer um, performing under the duress of trying to deal with pain and give a performance. So when I sing it now, it's deep and it becomes it wasn't as personal as at the time when I wrote it. It was more just writing from imagination. But over time, it has really deepened. It became overwhelming to sing it at certain times of my life. Like I had to stop. I had to take it out of my set because when I was singing, I got very overwhelmed with memories of people. But it's very, very, very dear to me. I've lived and I've loved and I've lost, people. It happens, in life. We're losing a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of great people. And that song is about love and loss.
And I think that's why what makes your music so beautiful is because we all connect to that, to
Mm.
those things.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
Perhaps. You tell me. You would know
You're,
better than me.
I can't tell you. I'm telling you right now.
Thank you.
You're a very cerebral person.
I
What's
lost you.
your
You said I'm a
You're very cerebral, and I can see
Hmm.
the thought process going in your mind. How do you sit down and write music? How do you sit down and write songs? How do you compose? Do you compose music also? Or
I
do
do
you
compose music, yeah.
how do you sit down? What's your process in doing that?
Um,
Because you have a beautiful way with words, and I can see
Thank
that
you.
you're very thoughtful in how you're
Thanks.
putting words together.
Um, I just try to come up with ways to say things in a different way that I feel hasn't been said yet. Um, I just try to catch the inspiration. I just try to catch it from the universe. I think sometimes I don't know if I write the songs, if the songs write themselves, and I catch them. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
when you're writing with somebody else, it's different because you're writing, they're writing, you're sort of bringing the best of two worlds, or how many other people are we're co-writing with you. You're bringing the best. You're sort of cooking together. That's a different process. But it's just I'm a melody person, so I'm like, whatever it is, no matter how quote unquote cerebral it is, I want people to be able to sing along with it and enjoy the melody. I mean, even when I hear songs of different languages, like I love Brazilian music, Portuguese music. I don't even necessarily what they're talking about, but I just love the melody. So the melody's got to touch your soul too. So I think the melody is the magic. I think the melody is the most spiritual part of music. So I'm most probably concerned with melody. Like, do you remember like Quincy Jones's album that
Hmm.
on that album? It's like melodies touch your
Yeah,
heartstrings in
definitely.
a way without words.
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
You've had some appearances around the country that were pretty remarkable. What are some of your favorites? You've been at the Essence Festival. You
Mhm.
went to the White House. Did you perform at the White House, or you just went and
I did.
met in the Black Caucus and things like that? What are some of your favorites, and what are some of your favorite stories that you might have from that?
All of them. I
Oh,
love You know what I mean? It's really
yeah,
an honor to perform. It's an
yeah.
honor when people ask you to perform. It's anytime, any place. It's an honor to be able to sing for people. Um, and I've gotten a chance to do shows at the Blue Note, which is iconic. When you think about the people who've touched that stage, to um So I don't know. Sometimes it's the people. You know, it's a chance to actually share your gift with people and touch people, all kinds of people. I mean, touring like Japan was magical. You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
going to Japan and the amount of reverence and respect that the Japanese fans have. You know, and the way they researched my career and getting to and getting crossing the waters the first time I went to Japan and realized, oh my God, these people, you know, really know who I am. Like
Wow. Yeah.
that blew me away. And then performing at the Essence Music Festival because I worked at Essence. I was a staff member of Essence from 1990 to 1997. So when I left and then got invited back to perform for the Essence Music Festival, I helped plan the first Essence Music
Oh, wow.
Festival.
Wow.
So, that was a
Yeah.
full circle
Full
moment.
circle. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to for the future?
What am I looking for this?
Try
I'm just trying to get through the
to get
day.
through there.
um, you know, I think I have a book in me. I just have to get peace, be still, and sit down and write it.
Hmm.
So I'm looking forward to telling that story, that my story. I really have to surrender to the process, but I'm looking forward to that. I want to do new things, you know what I mean? Like I would love to do some acting,
Broadway, maybe? Is that?
Broadway maybe,
Yeah, yeah.
some television. Like I'd love to, you know, coach. I love vocal coaching. I do a lot of vocal coaching. So something like The Voice would be amazing to do. Um, you know, work in film and television. I've done music for 30 years. Music is great. I love music.
Hmm.
But I'm excited to do other things where I can take my musical history, my musical education, my musical experiences, and share in other mediums. Those kinds of opportunities excite me.
Okay. So that's
So
entertainment, period. Because
that's
yeah,
entertainment.
for sure.
Yeah, entertainment. Exactly. More
Yeah.
entertainment, period.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I appreciate you. Let everybody know how we can get in touch with you. How can we find you? We need vocal coaching. I don't know if you're open to the masses. I might need a little vocal
Yes.
coaching too, but
I'm open to the masses. Yes.
okay, let us know how we can get in touch with you.
Okay. I'm Gordon Chambers on Instagram. It's GordonChambers on Instagram. That's the easiest way to follow me and to keep up with me. And I answer all of my DMs myself. My email address is info@gordonchambers.com. And I'm on Facebook as well, but Instagram is where I'm most active. And really that's me. I'm accessible and I'm available to sing and coach and have a good time in life. Yeah.
And there you have it. Everybody, please make sure you follow Gordon Chambers. You can find him on Instagram, as he said, under his name, GordonChambers.
Yes.
Also, you can go to his website.
So,
Right. Go to his website, and that has all the information, samename.com. Gordon Chambers, award-winning singer-songwriter and producer. Thank you for spending some time with us here, because time is the most valuable thing we can give. So I appreciate you and thank you very much. Please come back anytime.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your interest in artists and telling our stories. And I hope this stories we've told tonight together touches somebody else and influences somebody else's story, because that's creative community, blessing each other and sending it on, passing it on. Absolutely. And my website is GordonChambers.com. So thank you, brother. And I'll see you in these Brooklyn streets.
You sure will. You definitely will. You'll see me on stage. Everybody, make sure you slide on into my DMs. It's Marcos Luis, MarcosLuis. The show is OneMicNite, OneMicNite. Be on the lookout. My show is coming up soon. I'll be working with Creative Entertainment. The show is going to be called Cherry House. We'll be on Theater Row, 42nd Street. So look out for that coming up soon. Thank you guys very much. Like and share this episode. We'll see you next time on OneMicNite. Thank you.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Blessings.